haven't talked about this actually, but I actually spent about 20 minutes locked in a disabled toilet with 2 pals. And I was just staring at myself in this mirror. And I was just talking absolute shit, like garbage, like Jesus walking on water type of garbage shit.
Oh, really?
You know, just like bigging myself up. And I've got these 2 guys in my ear just, you know,
Screaming.
You're the gospel, you know, you're Jesus reborn and all this shit. And then it just got this click moment where I just looked in the mirror. I was like, right, I'm ready. I can do this. And I just turned and I kicked this door off the hinges. And I walked out and I did the 500 kilo deadlift.
I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind: to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution. Obviously, you won the World's Strongest Man. Tell me about that experience, because that's something that no one can ever take away from you. You won the World's Strongest. You're the World's Strongest Man 2017. It's like Dexter Jackson always tells me. He goes, Dave, you know what? No matter what people say about me, I'll always be Mr. Olympia because I won the 08 Olympia. You'll always be the World's Strongest Man. Is that one of the most, the title that you're the most, kind of happy with or, impressed with?
I would say my most impressive and historic and iconic feat would be the 500 kilo deadlift, 1,100 pound deadlift.
Yeah. I was going to say that after. Yeah.
It was just deemed the impossible lift. It was,
Right.
Everyone said it was impossible. Like top strength athletes said it couldn't be done. Promoters said it couldn't be done. 99% of the fan base just laughed at me when I put it out on social media. So doing that was probably my biggest achievement in life. And then to solidify that with the World's Strongest Man title and have the two combined,
Right.
was it just made they bounced off each other so well. I think one without the other is almost worthless. Like just being a deadlift specialist and then not winning the World's Strongest Man, you'd be forgotten pretty quick.
Right.
So having won the World's Strongest Man, it really did cement that 500 kilo deadlift in people's minds.
Walk us through this thing. How difficult was this lift? I've heard some crazy stories about nosebleeds and your head exploding and all kinds of crazy stuff.
Jeez. So yeah, I mean, I had to go to a different place to lift that weight. I think honestly, physically, I wasn't strong enough that day to lift that weight.
Really?
But mentally, I was willing to put myself in a very dangerous place mentally to lift that weight. I worked with psychologists and hypnotherapists, and we put my mind in a place where you hear these stories of mothers lifting their cars off the kids,
right?
And it was actually a scientist that broke it down for me, and that's why I went on to seek the hypnotherapy and everything. And like a normal day-to-day person, like goes to work, goes shopping, looks after kids, whatever, has access to about 50% of their muscle fibers. Someone who trains, 20 hours a week, 15, 20 hours a week, has access to at most like 65, 70% of the muscle fibers. But then you get a woman who's had a car crash and the kids are trapped under that adrenaline release, and all of a sudden they've got access to 100% of the muscle fibers because of that huge rush of adrenaline. So that's what I needed to tap into. I needed to tap into that natural release of adrenaline to access 100% of my muscle fibers and lift the half ton. So that's basically what I did in my mind, is put myself in this dark, deep, horrible hole to lift 500 kilo. And yeah, it was it was pretty special.
How do you do that? Did you like go into a meditative state, or how did you elicit that?
Months and months and months of prep of, you know, every time I deadlifted in the gym, I went through the same motions, the same, you know, I'd have like a pinch point on the back of my hand that I'd pinch like 5 minutes before I lifted, and that just get me in this zone, smelling salts, you know, just like a regime of different things setting up for this, getting my mind in this mode. I haven't talked about this actually, but I actually spent about 20 minutes locked in a disabled toilet with 2 pals, and I was just staring at myself in this mirror, and I was just talking absolute shit, like garbage, like Jesus walking on water type of garbage shit.
Really?
You know, just like bigging myself up, and I've got these 2 guys in my ear, just, you know, screaming, "You're the gospel, you know, you're Jesus reborn," and all this shit. And then it just got this click moment where I just looked in the mirror. I was like, right, I'm ready. I can do this. And I just turned and I kicked this door off the hinges, and I walked out, and I did the 500 kilo deadlift. And I've never told anyone that before, but that's how I set up for it.
Really? So you lifted that thing like it was nothing. It didn't even look hard for you.
Yeah, it was pretty. It was. I mean, it was almost a speed rep to a point. You know, I stood up with it pretty quick, and then it just sort of slowed down at the top. But that was the plan. You know, explode off the floor, give every ounce of strength that I've got off the floor, and then once you got it past your knees, it's sort of like you're almost back in the room when you get it past your knees, and you've got to really think hard and pull back and use your actually physical strength then to finish off the lift. So that it was like 2 stages to the lift almost. You know, it was like the first bit, like from the floor to my knees, was like I wasn't even conscious. I seriously wasn't even in the arena. It was like I was lifting a car off of my kids. And then the second bit, I just sort of woke up at the top just as I was finishing the lift off, and I can just sort of woke up, stood up, and I was like, fuck, I've done it. It was quite surreal.
You know, the only thing I can equate it to, obviously, because I haven't lifted anything that heavy, but when I would squat sometimes, like I think the most I squatted was like 7, 45s on each side. And when I walked out with the thing, I started to see stars. And I've never, you know, it's hard. People say they see stars, you know, literally. I'm sure you've seen this before. And you're just so focused. You're like, well, I'm just going to ignore them. And you go down and you just pray that you're going to come up. You go down and do the lift, and you come up, and you don't even know how you really did it. Yeah. But because you were like, maybe I might die doing this. You know, I'm not sure. It seems like I could potentially die doing this, but I got to try it. You know,
no, 100%.
Right. And your body can do it, but it's like your mind is saying this is probably not a good idea, you know, but you don't care because you're overriding what your logical brain is telling you to do.
Yeah.
And I have to imagine it was something like that you experienced, right?
100%. And that's the difference between a champion and a bitch. I always say when you've got that thought in your mind, when you're like, oh, fuck, this isn't good. You know, I could pass out. I could snap an ankle. That's the inner bitch. Yeah. And everyone's got an inner bitch. I've got an inner bitch. And it's letting that inner bitch tell you can't do something. And you've got to ignore that.
Right.
And you say, you see those stars, and you're going to go, fucking shut up, you little bitch, and get back in your box and get it done. But saying that, though, I did front squats, quite heavy, like 600-pound front squats with a bar across my chest.
Wow.
Exactly that. Saw stars, carried on. Doing my reps, and then just woke up on my back. So,
oh my God!
Literally woke up on my back, crippled under a bar. Luckily, nothing was broke, but that taught me a lesson.
Shit.
So sometimes you've got to listen, and you know those stars are a sign of something. Sometimes
yeah.